Alright, it's finally here. Can't really think of a crazy intro for this one. This is something we've worked a long time for. If you are a fan of the channel, if you've been a fan of my channel for a minute, stand the fuck up, man. Smash the like button. It's finally here. I have my very own battle with a fully animated battle at the end to determine who the winner is. Over 2 minutes long. Shout out to the homie G. He actually is the one that fully animated this. That dude's a fucking wizard. Make sure to check his channel out. All of his links will be pinned in the comment section down below. Again, can't thank him enough. And thank you to everyone that supported so far. And if you're new to the channel, smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. We're close to 20k. Let's fucking rush forward and just take it. Let's blow up. Legion of Goons, stand with me. Like let's take it to the moon. But today, for my first animated battle, is Starkiller or Galen Merrick from The Force Unleashed versus Anakin Skywalker. Specifically tying into his strongest versions, including Nightfall Vader, but obviously I'm not using Mortis Anakin. But Nightfall Vader will be included. I will review both of these characters. Then we will watch the battle, and I will explain why, who specifically won, and for what reasons. Thank you guys so much for being with me on this journey. Without further ado, let's get into this milestone on my channel. First, we're going to talk about Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker, famously known as the Chosen One in the Star Wars mythos, was a character born conceived of the Force. Due to manipulation of midichlorians from Sith Lords, he was born into the womb of Shmi Skywalker, and soon Anakin Skywalker was born. Born into slavery on the planet of Tatooine, Anakin would not know freedom until Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn stumbled upon him. Realizing this boy had a stupid amount of potential and could be perhaps the prophesied Chosen One of the Light, he brought Anakin Skywalker in to be trained and nurtured as the Chosen One, bound to save the light side of the Force. By the way, I'll be treating this video like you guys have never heard of these characters before, just so that people who haven't gotten into Star Wars can enjoy this dope-ass battle. But getting back to this, we see Anakin witness the death of Qui-Gon Jinn, the Jedi Master, by the hands of Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon's apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi would soon take the young boy in, pledging to his dying master to raise the Chosen One. Soon, Anakin was thrust into the Jedi life. It would train rapidly to develop into a proper Jedi warrior, swearing to himself he would save his mother. He would then go on to be raised in the temple and would serve as a Padawan under Obi-Wan Kenobi. Eventually, we would see him grow and witness the Clone Wars, this savage battle between the dark side and the light side, the Separatists and the Republic. Led to many battles for Anakin, one which cost him a limb, his forearm, which was replaced with cybernetics. Eventually, the Jedi General, Anakin Skywalker, would become one of the most famous generals of his time, if not the most, being brave, powerful, and just outright stubborn in his lead role, and thankful to head into any battle. Eventually, he, on a rescue mission to save the Senator, who would later be Emperor Palpatine, he decided to execute Count Dooku after a vicious battle. This would only help to significantly further him along to the dark side of the Force, as Anakin very much so had very murderous traits. For example, when he went back to save his mom after sensing her in danger, he found her dying, and she died at the hands of slavers and Tusken Raiders on Tatooine. Anakin butchered all of them, including the women and children. So he already had very many dark side tendencies, which is understandable given his upbringing. He then would eventually become a full-fledged Sith Lord, as he saw the death of his family, did not want this to happen, and agreed to save Palpatine in exchange for Palpatine to teach him how to save his family. So he would then become the Dark Lord Darth Vader. For a brief amount of time, Anakin walked around without a suit as a Sith Lord. And we in the community call him Nightfall Vader. This Vader saw the death of many Jedi and famously slayed the Jedi younglings. Eventually, his murderous path would be stopped by his former master, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. After a fierce duel on Mustafar, Anakin was cut down after he foolishly jumped towards Kenobi. This would bring the end of Nightfall Vader, as later he's brought back to be cybernetically enforced as Darth Vader. But that wraps up Nightfall Vader / Anakin's story. Let's go over his physicals, combat skill and intelligence, and then hacks, abilities, and gear. So first off, for physicals, Anakin Skywalker by Revenge of the Sith was stated to be one of the most athletic Jedi to ever serve in the Order, which would go back several thousand years. These are characters that regularly dodge light, react in hyperspace, some can lift the mountains, yet he is considered perhaps the most athletic and physically gifted of all time among the Jedi ranks to that point. Anakin, when raging against Count Dooku, his strikes were compared to the likes of small meteor strikes. And every strike against Kenobi on Mustafar, Kenobi felt like he was about to get beat down. Like, it was just a horrific mismatch of strength. Anakin's mix of skill, speed, and strength makes formidable striking power, as he, pound for pound among the Jedi, is perhaps one of the strongest strikers ever seen among the Order. In terms of speed, he was able to overwhelm Count Dooku when raging. This Count Dooku can keep up with Kenobi, Dooku, and even Yoda. Mace and even Yoda, which is absolutely insane, as Yoda is able to dodge three Jedi Masters at the same time for several minutes while being unarmed. They couldn't even touch him. And he's able to keep up with him on a regular basis and was his sparring partner. This kind of proves that Anakin's one of the fastest characters we've seen with his mix of physicality and force augmentation. And it makes sense how he's so physically gifted, because Anakin has some of the most extreme force potential we've ever seen, if not the most extreme. And this would manifest beautifully in force augmentation, as it's just like raw power boosting him. So it makes sense he's so physically gifted. His durability is also pretty extreme as well. He was able to get blasted by Count Dooku and ragdolled as a teenager. This same lightning was able to kill Jedi Masters like Thulm, and yet Anakin would get up later and go on to continue fighting Dooku, even pressing him a little bit than further before. Now, Anakin, of course, can be taken out by heavy bouts of energy or attacks. However, he is incredibly tough and stubborn. Given the fact that he truly believes he can beat anyone, he's going to keep going because of his ego. So it's actually insanely hard to bring down Anakin. You got to either knock him out or kill him. Overall, physically, Anakin's one of the most impressive Jedi ever. And when he gave into the dark side and manifested that dark side power to its most extreme, he nearly beat down Kenobi at every corner and was casually cutting down Jedi Masters like it was nothing. He truly is one of the most physically imposing characters among the regular Star Wars characters. Next, we have combat skill and intelligence. Anakin was always a prodigy with the blade. In fact, it did not take him long in the Jedi Temple to quickly surpass the other younglings in terms of combat ability with the blade and martial art prowess. This is pretty crazy because most of the younglings start off as literally toddlers in training, and he came in as a 10-year-old and was able to soon after just shit on them in raw talent with the blade. Anakin would go on to be one of the most prodigious talents with the blade the Jedi Order had ever seen. In fact, in the Clone Wars, when he and Kenobi clashed with Dooku, he fared better against Dooku than his master Obi-Wan Kenobi did. Granted, at that point, Obi-Wan Kenobi was not a master of Surisu yet, but still to be above such a noteworthy Jedi at that point, or at least arguably above in dueling skill and ability, is pretty impressive. Anakin's actual styles, at first more so started out with Ataru. Ataru being a super fast, agile, athletic, acrobatic form, most notoriously used by the likes of Yoda, in which you basically throw yourself around at weird angles and around the battlefield, taking your opponent off guard and using quick athletic strikes to overwhelm them and take them down. It's a pretty aggressive form for the likes of Jedi. Anakin grew to learn this rapidly after learning the first form, Chi-Cho, as this would be obvious given Qui-Gon Jinn used the form and Kenobi used the form as well for quite some time. Soon after, Anakin would begin to learn the Form 5, or Xian and Jim-So. This is a form that predicates itself upon a super powerful defense, followed up by proper, powerful, overwhelming, retaliatory strikes. Anakin became a master of this to the point that when Dooku dueled him in their final battle, he surmised that just in a short amount of time, Anakin Skywalker had become the greatest Jim-So user ever to that point. Like, he just thought he was that good. And to consider that wasn't his first form and how fast he had learned it, absolutely insane, and just points to how brilliant of a skilled martial artist Anakin Skywalker really was. In terms of combat intelligence, this isn't as good as his combat skill. For example, oftentimes we see Anakin is a victim of his own anger, raging, and rash strikeouts and lashouts, and this often costs him, and I would count that towards his combat intelligence. However, for a majority of the time, he's a very noteworthy general, winning many noteworthy battles throughout the Clone Wars, taking down Sith warriors and even Sith lords, and at one point was considered the greatest general. So his ability in combat, especially to be unorthodox and take weird angles, because he often was just strong enough to get out of it, worst case if it fucks up, this made him an insanely unpredictable fighter at times, and you never really know how Anakin's going to proceed. He might try to overwhelm you with the blade. He might let out a force scream for the first time. He did that against Dooku. You never know. So this makes him a unique case in intelligence. Overall, in combat skill and intelligence, Anakin's one of the greatest duelists we've ever seen. Very powerful martial artist, able to go toe-to-toe with Obi-Wan, who's clearly gone hand-to-hand with Mandalorians. He's capable of dueling with almost anyone in the verse pretty easily and is considered one of the best to ever wield a lightsaber. His intelligence is not the greatest ever. He can be very rash. However, he is very experienced, has won several battles, and can't be underestimated as an opponent. Now, finally, for Anakin, we have hacks, abilities, and gear. Due to his natural heritage through the Force, Anakin's one of the strongest Force users we've ever seen in just raw power. He manifested this mostly through dueling purposes. For example, his Force augmentation was brilliant, as well as he was very naturally adept at precog and pre-sight. For example, he was able to sense danger to not just him, but it was actually to someone else, a room over. He can sense incoming danger to that degree. He also was kind of rough around the edges when it came to approaching the Force. He was so naturally powerful, he kind of just wanted to overwhelm, not be nuanced in his approach. As a result, he is super powerful with telekinetic blasts, able to ragdoll opponents. His Force Scream made Count Dooku kind of have to retreat because it unstabilized everything. He has been able to match the Force power of Kenobi, who is able to ragdoll General Grievous, and not many Force users can even tag General Grievous with the Force. And he was able to go toe-to-toe with Kenobi with the Force. He's also able to use Force Rage, which further enhances his stats. and he's known for Force choke, able to literally choke the Force or the windpipes of his opponent. In terms of Force walls and defenses, he's actually pretty solid on this end. It's not talked about a lot, but you have to be a high tier to kind of throw him around with the Force. For example, it would take like a Count Dooku type presence to get him with the Force, really, which is extremely high tier. So overall, when it comes to hacks, abilities, and gear, on the Force side, he has a kind of basic move set with the Force. However, everything he does is pretty vicious and overwhelming in nature. In terms of gear, he has a cybernetic forearm, which increases his attack potency with that off arm. He also has his own lightsaber, which is built for combat. Minimal battle gear, where he's probably going to show up in his standard robes. And overall, he's one of the strongest Force users ever. However, he didn't really capitalize on this so much. He didn't get too nuanced in his approach. As a result, he has a limited variety in his attacks, but what he does do, he does it very well, which makes him extremely dangerous. Now, let's move on to Galen Marek. Galen Marek was a young boy, unfortunately born to a Jedi, who would be in the midst of the end of the Jedi. Order 66 had taken place. The Emperor and his troops had cut down a majority, almost all, of the Jedi throughout the universe. However, this Jedi Master would raise his son, Galen Marek, on Kashyyyk among the Wookiees. Eventually, Darth Vader, sensing a great power coming from this planet, would go down there, confront Wookiees, kill several of them, meet the Master, easily defeat him, and say, "You're not as strong as I thought you were," just to get his lightsaber snatched from child Galen Marek. That's when Vader realized the insane potential of this child, took him under his wing, and trained him to be his hitman, apprentice, and soon accomplice to the murder of Darth Sidious. As Galen Marek trained over the years, he began to manifest his Force power in crazy ways, and Vader had big hopes for Galen Marek as an accomplice to defeating his master, to the point he was even eventually sending Galen Marek after Jedi Masters to kill them. Eventually, Galen would be discovered by Sidious, in which Vader would betray him, casting him aside and presumably killing him. However, he would come back, be healed by Vader, and eventually Galen Marek would get into a battle with Vader, in which he was able to defeat him. However, he would die at the hands of Emperor Sidious later after a fierce battle. And he would be cloned later. The Starkiller clone would be quite formidable, but we are going to be using Galen Marek at this time. And yeah, that death, however, and his sacrifice, this would allow for the rebellion to be born. And fun fact, Galen Marek's family crest is used as the sign of the rebellion. Overall, Galen Marek would die, going down as one of the biggest what-ifs in Star Wars Legends history, as he had the potential to perhaps even one day rival or surpass Emperor Sidious himself. Now, let's get into his physicals. Galen Marek, as a child, obviously was raised on Kashyyyk with no true signs of him having any real training or physical hardships. However, under Vader, he was trained in torturous, insane methods that would have killed most. However, holding on and manifesting to the great Force power, which was now melding towards the dark side, Galen would tough it out, becoming a teenager that was covered in scars with a skinny frame but corded, hardened muscles that reflected a torturous life to that point. This hardship upbringing and brutal crash course training allowed Galen Marek to endure insane battles, trials, and tribulations, including literally traversing a planet that was trying to kill him and then defeating a Jedi Master that controlled it on that same planet. He's been cut before with lightsabers. He's been stabbed. He's been thrown with the Force. He's been victimized to the vacuum of space. All these things just prove how tough Galen Marek is. And in terms of speed, he is faster than Darth Vader himself. And he's fast enough to react to Emperor Sidious, as well as he's fast enough to overwhelm Darth Vader's defenses. Overall, physically, Galen Marek is not the craziest physical specimen we've ever seen, mostly because this is pre-prime Galen Marek physically as a human. However, his training and his many battles shaped him into a lightning-fast fighter with great stamina, insane endurance, and a heart of just pure Durasteel. Like, he's tough as shit. Next, let's talk about combat skill and intelligence. With his training, this included training with the likes of Proxy. Proxy was a droid that was programmed to study the many different martial arts styles of the greatest fighters and Jedi and warriors throughout history, at least predicating them. This allowed Galen Marek, even as a young warrior, to be exposed to some of the best martial arts skilled styles throughout the universe, master them, and even learn how to counter them instinctively, to the point that he could get jumped by Proxy and instantly react and know how to counter his opponent in their style. This also allowed him to eventually analyze and figure out a way to take down Darth Vader. Vader being one of the most formidable combatants to ever exist in the mythos, and being a seasoned veteran, even more seasoned than Anakin Skywalker. However, Galen Marek is a character that kind of relies on giving into his emotion. So similar to Anakin, he is more prone to lash out, either defending himself or, even more importantly, his people and the ideas he's protecting. This can lead him into traps. However, Galen Marek is very experienced, even for a young age. He's fought several Jedi Masters, even Ram Koda, who was a Clone Wars general legend, as well as Shak Ti, who is the same as well. So being able to go against high-tier fighters and stand against them does show he's pretty smart and insanely skilled. In terms of his actual fighting style, he has learned every style under Vader and Proxy. However, he more so favors Juyo. This is a style, Form 7, made famous by characters like Darth Maul, that's acrobatic, fierce, and overwhelming as an offensive style. He'll just wear away at you, jump you, stab you, get the drop on you, just tear you apart as a duelist. He's that nasty with it. In terms of his accolades as a martial artist, obviously, in total combat style, he was able to defeat Darth Vader. He's defeated Shak Ti, although she was a better duelist than him at the time. As a complete combatant, he was still able to go toe-to-toe, and she also had the help of literally the whole planet. He was able to go against other battle-hardened veterans of Clone Wars like Ram Koda and Paratus. And overall, while not the smartest to ever do it, or the most skilled, he's a guerrilla-style fighter with very developed skill for his age and time frame, and a sneaky, dangerous intellect to him that makes him a fierce warrior against most in the verse. Finally, let's go over hacks, abilities, and gear. Now, this is where Galen really shines. Obviously, you should have seen he was going to be a monster in this category when Vader took him under his wing for just his raw power in general, seeing it as enough to overcome Sidious. Galen Marek became a master of many forms in the Force, fully immersing himself and giving in to the Force entirely, allowing himself to learn both light side and dark side abilities with efficiency. This includes telekinesis, to the point that he can help guide the descent of a Star Destroyer, which is fucking massive. And he was able to help pull it down, as well as hurl objects at Vader, even match him in telekinetic matches, no problem. And in raw power, stand toe-to-toe with Sidious for a little bit. He also is an extreme master of environmental combat. That is, he will weaponize everything around him to try to get the advantage against his opponent. He even did so against Vader to overwhelm his defenses. In terms of lightning, his Force Lightning is brutal. For example, it helped him bring down Vader. It's able to easily kill Force-sensitive beings on dark side Nexus planets that are so powerful they disrupt space-time itself. He's able to ragdoll Jedi Masters, and overall, with Force Lightning and mixing it into different variations of this, including Chain Lightning, it just makes him super dangerous in many ways. He also has Force Repulse, a disgusting telekinetic outreach push that basically disintegrates everything around it, even being shown to disintegrate stormtroopers, living beings. He's also able to let loose massive amounts of Force augmentation, which can allow him to blitz even characters like Darth Vader, and stand against the likes of Sidious, even take on massive Rancors and other massive beasts throughout the mythos. His illusions are to be noted, but aren't crazy. He can cast Force illusions, tricking troopers with them. However, it's not something he uses that much, but it does speak to the degree of power he has. And there are some cases where he seems to slip into almost oneness, where he allows the Force to just completely overtake him and becomes more of a conduit than a user of the Force. Overall, in terms of the Force, Galen Marek has one of the scariest arsenals we've ever seen in Star Wars, with his many variations of Force Lightning, Force Crush, Force Push, telekinesis, telepathic attacks, illusions, and all these different things. It makes him very versatile in the Force. In terms of gear, he'll be bringing dual lightsabers to the battle, and wear light body armor that doesn't protect him all over, so it's not that great. And overall, Galen Marek is one of the scariest characters in this category for the Star Wars mythos, as he's so dangerous, has a great stamina in the Force, can spam abilities, and doesn't really give a shit if you die in the process. So, if these two monsters in Star Wars were to clash, who do I think would win? Without further ado, we have to get into the fucking battle, baby! I hope you guys enjoy this. Man, it's hard not to get emotional. It's been making content for so long, been grinding towards this. Shout out to my boy G. Make sure to go check out the links to his stuff. He's amazing at what he does. Let's watch this battle. I hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, may the battle begin.
Juno, I'm close. I can sense Vader nearby. He's close. I can feel it. Huh.
Is this what passes for Jedi now? This won't take long.
Master, no.
Jedi traitor, you can't stop me. My power has no limits. Now the Jedi must be purged. They have no idea what's coming. Don't worry, you were dead when I walked in the room.
Stand aside. Don't make me hurt you.
Jedi scum.
I will bring your arrogance crashing down upon you. Goodbye, my master. I am free.
Alright, once again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my second channel, Coffee Shop Comics, and check out the boy G who animated this battle. In the end, Starkiller was victorious, as you saw. Why would Starkiller win if these two were to go against each other? Well, in terms of physicality, Anakin would be on paper his superior in terms of physical prowess. However, he's not going to be the strongest opponent Galen Merrick's ever gone against, which would be Darth Vader, who was stronger than Anakin physically. Yet Galen could go toe-to-toe with him and even push him back. Speed-wise, he was able to react to Sidious, who can keep up with Yoda. So Galen has plenty of arguments to say he's relative to Anakin in the physical department, although Anakin would have the physical edge in my opinion. In terms of combat skill and intelligence, I would give it to Anakin. Anakin, simply put, is one of the most talented duelists and martial artists to ever exist in Star Wars. And I think he's a more complete technical duelist than Galen Merrick is. Both are prone to rash decisions. Galen probably a little less, but I don't think it's enough to make up for how much experience and the greatness of Anakin Skywalker. So in this category, I'd give the edge to Anakin. However, in hacks, abilities, and gear, I give it to Galen Merrick. First of all, Galen Merrick can somewhat rival the raw power of Anakin. That's true. Like, it's even stated by writers. Eventually, it would be shown in raw power he might even be more than Sidious. So he could easily keep up with Nightfall Vader or Anakin Skywalker with the Force, similar to how Obi-Wan did, and perhaps in even more devastating fashion. His arsenal is more unique, in my opinion, than anything Anakin's actually seen. And I think the way he spams, uses the environment, and mixes it in with his lethal ability as a duelist, I think eventually this would actually overcome Anakin, who's a bully-style fighter, who would meet someone who's not as scared to swing on a bully. In the end, with his hacks being so potent, I think his brilliance mixing in the Force with dueling eventually would take down Anakin, and as a result, with high difficulty, Galen Merrick would be the winner. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. If you were at the live premiere, I love you so much. And if you're tuning in late, I love you as well, because you're a part of the journey. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more content coming soon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.